How did you happen to come up with that name?
Well, for those of you who are poets, take a look at Emily Dickinson.
Okay.
And, she's been a big inspiration to me. Matter of fact, I think she was probably our country's first jazz musician. It's just that she did it with words.
Did it with words. I got you.
And I'm a great fan of hers, and she continues to inspire me.
All right. Life uncloudy.
Whatever you think. you know, Coltrane never used to explain his titles. It's just, you have to treat them like titles of poems. If they spark your imagination, then they're doing what an artist wants them to do, but you can't really explain them.
Mm-hmm. I hear what you say.
Yeah.
Tell us how we can tell artists how they can get the album.
Well, it's always available for those of us who still like a hard copy, a CD. You can get them at Amazon.com, real easy. And also either on Amazon.com or iTunes. If you prefer to download the CD, you can get it that way. That's more like the way my students like to hear music.
Right on. Speaking of students, where are you teaching at now?
I'm at the New School for Jazz and Contemporary Music in New York.
Okay. All right.
I've been a full-time faculty there for quite a few years.
You've been in the music business over 30 years, or about 30 years, and you're still going nonstop. What gives you such energy, and what inspires you?
It's when you get that great feeling when you're playing, James. Any musician will tell you it's like a drug, and it's just you can't stop doing that. You just want that great feeling of what it feels like to be absolutely in the moment and expressing something with together with 2, 3, 4 other musicians. It's just an amazing feeling.
Give us a little history on Jane IRA Bloom. Where you from, and family, with any musicians in the family and so forth.
Well, my family, they appreciated music, but they weren't musicians, no.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up just outside of Boston.
Okay.
And I studied saxophone with a great master saxophone teacher that a lot of saxophone players know. And his name was Joe Viola. And he was there in Boston. And I was a teenager, and I was able to study with this guy who was just a master teacher, So I credit him with my interest in the soprano saxophone.
Okay. All right. Who in the jazz field, saxophonist, other than him, that kind of inspired you?
Sonny Rollins.
All right.
I'll never forget the first time I met him. I was very fortunate to meet him when I was still in college. And there's just something about the way he plays that has always moved me, and he's just a lovely guy to meet as well, too.
Right. Do you believe that various styles of music affect your style?
I think everybody, you are what you've heard. You are the sum of everything that you know.
Right, that's true.
And jazz musicians throughout the history of the music have always allowed all these influences to percolate in their imagination to come up with what they do. The music constantly evolves because of that.
When did you first play in your first band, and then what was the experience?
First band, wow. I got to think about that one. I remember I started doing concerts, of original music first when I was in New Haven. Played with a bass player named Kent McClagan, who now resides in Denver, Colorado. And I remember our first paying gig in New Haven, Connecticut.
You remember the first paying gig, guys?
The first paying gig, yeah. I remember the first paycheck.
What would you say was the major thing that helped in your development? Because you're quite accomplished,
Well, that's a hard question to answer. I'm not quite sure even how to answer that. That one really has me. There's so much involved in who you are and what you do and why you do it.
I got you.
I can't come up with one thing.
When you first picked up your instrument, what was your first instrument?
My first instrument was actually piano.
It was piano.
I was 4 years old when I started studying piano.
Okay. And how did you get involved with the saxophone?
Oh, in the public schools where I went, they'd give you a list, about 5 instruments and say, which one do you want to play? Trumpet.
Right, I remember that.
Flute, clarinet, and hey, I wanted to play something shiny, and the saxophone looked great to me. And at 9 years old, that's a good reason as any.
What kind of music interests you besides jazz?